Beautiful. Congratulations.
Thanks. Every day
This
is a blessing.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Every day.
Every
So he
day.
said 5 seconds. I guess we're ready to do this now.
I don't know. I'm here.
We're ready, and let's do this. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I am Kenneth Zakee here at the ArtsXChange, and we are featuring a wonderful guest today. She is a recipient of our Arts and Social Justice Award, Ebon Dooley, and this is the Arts and Social Justice Conversation. And again, I'm Kenneth Zakee, and I'm here at the ArtsXChange, and we still exchanging art even in this day and times, these trying times, because they say trying times are times for trying. And as we begin, let me quote this great poet sister. Her name is Sister Sonia. And I need some glasses on, y'all, so I can do this proper justice.
Take mine. Take mine.
I found mine. I found mine. I found mine. Her name is Sister Sonia Renee Taylor. And this is what she has to say. We will not go back to normal. Normal never was. Our pre-corona existence was not normal other than we normalized greed, inequity, exhaustion, depletion, extraction. We should not long to return, my friends. We're being given an opportunity to stitch a new garment, one that fits all of humanity and nature. And brothers and sisters, here we are with the perfect guest to further this discussion from this quote. And let me give her a proper introduction. There's so many noteworthy things she's done. And y'all know I'm not a long-winded person, but I'm going to do my best with this introduction to give her proper justice. That's a word we're hearing a lot of these days. But anyway, y'all, let me introduce y'all to Bobbie Paul. Bobbie served as the first executive director of Georgia WAND, Women's Action for New Directions, from 2002 to 2013. Prior to coming to Atlanta in 1981, she worked as a professional theater director in Washington, D.C. and St. Petersburg, Florida, where she co-founded what is now American Stage Company. Bobbie's political and environmental activism began in Atlanta, Georgia in 1982, fighting for the Georgia Department of Transportation's plan to build a Stone Mountain Freeway. And check this out, y'all. We ain't got no freeway called Stone Mountain. And she organized hundreds of neighborhood volunteers and designed theatrical events to try to halt the construction of a major 6-lane highway that would cut through 8 historic in-town neighborhoods and parks. This marked the beginning of Bobbie's long association with Congressman, the beloved late Congressman John Lewis, an ally in the fight, fortifying her commitment to getting in the way, risking emotional pain to build partnerships in order to advance Dr. King's vision of the beloved community.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, we got some more now. You know you got some more now. You're trying to be modest over there. We got a whole 40, 45 minutes. Let's finish your introduction. You deserve this. After all, you just celebrated a 71st birthday. Smell your flowers. Miss Bobbie, smell your flowers while you still here, okay? Let me, don't interrupt me on your introduction no more, ma'am. I thank you, please. Now, back to my introduction.
Sorry.
Bobbie spent 25 years watchdogging the Savannah River site, a major U.S. nuclear weapons Superfund complex located in South Carolina across from Waynesville, Georgia, and fighting to protect vulnerable Georgia communities from nuclear contamination. Wow. In 2010, Bobbie led Georgia WAND efforts to win Senator Johnny Isaac's leadership and support for Senate passage of a nuclear non-proliferation treaty with Russia called New START. Bobbie has served on the boards of Arbor Monastery and Padilla Schools, Theatrical Outfit, Dad's Garage Theater, Greenlaw, the advisory committee of the Georgia Coalition for the People's Agenda. She's been recognized for her grassroots activism by the Alliance for Nuclear Accountability, Eckerd Alumni Association, Metro Atlanta Democratic Socialists of America, the Atlanta City Council, and the state of Georgia for her service to the community. And also, y'all, she got so many things she's done, but she is married to filmmaker Rod Paul. They had 2 adult sons and 2 grandchildren, all of Atlanta, GA. Bobbie is a longtime member of Central Presbyterian Church, and I can understand part of where her inspiration and community activism come from, because as a person who worked in social services, that church, Central Presbyterian, they're on the forefront of helping people and homeless people and getting people directed to social services. And so with no further ado, I introduce our audience to the 2019 recipient of the Ebon Dooley Social Art and Social Justice Award, Mrs. Bobbie Paul. How you doing, Ms. Paul?
Thank you. Thank you. It's really nice to make your acquaintance on this strange technology. I'm really a live theater kind of person, but I did just want to say one thing. I think I got the award in 2018 only because I want to give full honor to the woman who came after me, Miss Ross, who got the Bridge Builder Award after me. So, but thank you very much. I'm also very active. I think some people might be watching now on Atlanta Grandmothers for Peace, another group of.
Oh, yes, yes. Wow.
We've gone to jail protesting the Iraq War. I guess we're about 100 strong now on the mailing list, and we work on a lot of peace and justice activities, education, anti-nuclear. And it was John Lewis who came and judged a contest of high school kids. We asked them to write essays on peace and not war. And it was John who came and judged them and gave the students the awards, helped us judge them, I should say. But he was a great man, and I'd like to just recognize that it's been I get very choked up, and people who know me know I cry very easily. But been a very, very tough week, and
wow.
Totally unexpected, because people need their ultimate rest with CT Vivian and John Lewis, and we've lost Dr. Lowry this year, who I worked with very closely with Helen Butler on voting rights, and a lot of this was through WAND, which I'm very grateful to the organization and to the people who came after me. Becky Rafter, Lindsay Harper, who just stepped down to take another great job doing nuclear non-proliferation work. So it's great that these places, just like when I was in theater, that it goes on, because that's all we can ask, it seems, when we get tired.
Yes, ma'am. Well, hey, son, you got a lifetime of good work and community activism. I failed to mention that you're also a supporter of Georgians for Gun Safety and Georgians for Alternatives to the Death Penalty, Planned Parenthood, the Equal Justice Initiative, the Abulas Responding.
Yeah, the Grannies Respond. It's the group of women who came from New York all over to go to the border to help people coming. And there's a very active group here in Atlanta working on that I was just a volunteer with. We met people at the Greyhound bus station on their way to God knows where, who were coming up from the border. Of course, now a lot of that is all stopped with COVID. I mean, it's just crazy. I'm not as up on it right now, but it is, we've got a lot. You know, there's a lot of change in the air, which is very exciting, like the Black Lives Matter movement and the pandemic and everything that's happened. I keep saying, why did we have to have this? But it did feel kind of dangerous the last 3 years, that we were on this roller coaster just speeding along and nobody was really listening to each other. And it took this, you know, George Floyd, another incident, yet another, and this pandemic to kind of stop us in our tracks, to maybe slow down and really listen to each other and dig deeper as we go around again on this search for justice and equality.
So what are you all do? What are you and your family doing these days? And with this new reality that we're facing, how are you surviving it?
Oh, being very careful. I make masks. There's a lot. There's a wonderful woman in Grant Park named Gigi, Gigi Gould, who put out a call on Next Door Neighbor asking, would anybody like to do a mask? And I mean, from theater days, I can sew a straight line, nothing fancy, but we've made hundreds, and her group, there's a bevy of us, probably thousands of masks for healthcare workers to go over the N95s to give them a longer and wash them. We've been really careful. My husband's 72. He actually just left the country. He's a filmmaker, but he's also a pilot, and he went down to the Bahamas to do some good work and to work on a project.
That's where he's there now?
He's due to land in 20 minutes.
Wow.
So it's been a busy day.
How old is your husband?
72. He's so much older than I am.
y'all don't never age, do you?
Well, no. Well,
he's not, does he call himself retired? Does he consider himself retired?
Nope, and I really don't either. I think it's I do yoga with a wonderful group out of Grant Park online when I can. Yoga Poses Daily, Lynn Brandley, and it's really, that keeps me sane and centered at least a couple days a week, thanks to Zoom and I do it on Facebook.
Wow, that's beautiful. So I understand you're from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That's where you were born.
It is.
What is it about your roots what is about your roots that developed the woman that you are? I mean, that's a powerful thing. I was reading your biography and it's talking about the nuclear watch and how, you use your, what I call kaumba creativity with your theatrical thing to stop that thing with the Stone Mountain. I mean, that was some creativity.
Well,
you probably like to know.
That was the Parkway full of ironies, but I'd say my roots go back to, I think for all of us, I don't know, maybe we all arrive with our DNA in our package. I don't know. It's a mystery to me, but my dad was a doctor. My mother's family were Quakers. She was from New Jersey. My father from Trenton. My father was from Jersey City when it wasn't the posh place it is now outside of New York. And his mother came over on the boat from Germany in the 1800s through Ellis Island, which was pretty rough, but not as bad as being chained to a slave ship, and sold at auction. And so I think I saw my father as a doctor, an orthopedic surgeon, caring for people. And I think it's just kind of no matter what your religion or whatever, I mean, it's just do unto others as you would have people, the golden rule. I had lots of friends who were Catholic, Jewish, Lutheran. I didn't have many Baptist friends, and I didn't know too many Muslim people, but it seems like I had the Congregationalists, and I was always the visitor who signed the card at the Sunday school because I was staying over at my girlfriend's houses because my parents didn't go to church. So I kind of got a smorgasbord, and to me, it's all good, if you're kind to each other and say please and thank you and clean up after yourself, it's, and I think the creativity, I think my mom was the creative force behind my dad. I mean, she put him through medical school, working as a secretary at Temple. My dad, I love to tell this story. You want to hear a fun story? A little story? Yeah. My dad's heard the governor of New Jersey when he was born in 1911, say something at his high school graduation, like, see a man diligent at work, he shall stand above kings. And where there's a will, there's a way. And just because you're poor doesn't mean you can't aspire to things. So my dad was so inspired that he got an appointment the next week to go see the governor. And he said, he said, you inspired me and I want to be a doctor. And I like
that first quote you said. What was that you said about if you got a strong work? Can you repeat that?
See a man diligent at work, he shall stand above kings.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
That is inspiring.
Yeah, it was a Governor Moore of New Jersey back then. And he died before I met him. But anyway, the governor, he said, I need a job. I need help. He said to the governor. and the governor made him his personal chauffeur. And so that's how he made money. And of course, he went to Rutgers State, College of New Jersey, and the governor was there when he graduated. And then he met my mom, and they went to Philadelphia to Temple.
Wow.
So anyway, it's it is inspiring. And his mom was such a hard worker, Frieda Schultz Seifer. And I have yet to go to Germany. I'd love to dig up some roots to see if she was from Hamburg, this is the 1800s, because she came across the boat. I like to feel I have a little of her in me. She came over on the boat when she was 12 alone from Hamburg to New York Harbor. And
your mom?
My grandmother. And met a
Okay.
cousin in the 1800s. And she didn't know anybody. And she would go back and forth to Germany every 3 years and always wanted to take me, but my parents never let me go.
Wow, what memory. What memory.
Yeah. But I don't know, what do you attribute all your community work and involvement to? Your parents, a sage, a mentor, a grandma?
It's a combination of things, it's to me, I think it's a little organic. I've just been exposed to people and also experiences that pushed me in a certain direction. It's like my father, he wasn't a councilman, but he was what you call an alderman. It's like the person that all the neighborhood people rely on to communicate to the councilman.
Yeah.
And, so he's a leader, and I've noticed him, how people would come to the house and ask my dad for advice and stuff. And then I had experienced some things in my pursuit as a young man. I wanted to be a professional model. And I climbed the highest rung of the ladder until I tried to get into the mainstream, and it was racism that held me back. And it became so poignant to me that I turned away from that, and I got into community activism, and I joined Congressman Louis Stokes. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh.
Congressman, we had a strong, powerful political organization there called the 21st Congressional District Caucus. And so I joined that, and I became the chairman of the Crime and Safety Committee. And so I would go where there was things going on, injustices, representing the 21st Congressional District Caucus. And one thing out of another grew, and I was just there, and I got to be around a lot of political figures and community activists in my hometown. That's what pushed me to Atlanta to go to Morehouse College, because some people wanted me to come there and get involved in politics. But I came in Atlanta, and I was that artist in me made me stay in Atlanta, and I'm doing my thing as an artist today.
Yeah. So
but
what kind of artist are you now? Are you a painter?
I am a painter. This is my work right here. This is some of my work right here.
Let me put my glasses. Whoa, nice. Nice.
That's a piece I'm working on for the ArtsXChange to go on our fence outdoors.
Oh,
and
good.
This is some of my art.
So you have a full studio in there.
Yes, ma'am. I'm in my studio right now interviewing you.
It's a wonderful space, wonderful. And thank you for keeping the peace sign alive. I know a lot of people like having their pictures taken in front of it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Did you contribute to that?
We made it at one.
Oh, it's an honor to make your acquaintance. That thing is such a nice little. It's just a nice. It's a personality itself within the ArtsXChange.
Yeah, it's different on both sides. No pattern. With people just.
I love it. It's right next to my door as we speak.
Oh, I know exactly.
It's right next to my door.
It was for the Inman Park Festival every year in the Inman Park Festival, because I've lived here so many years. I think 36 years in Inman Park. I would either do a peace dove, a Jane Goodall peace dove when we were attacking Iraq. And not everyone was supportive of that, although some people were. And then we did floats, like on solar energy against nuclear energy or peace. And I remember Amelia Akanamu, and she's now married. I forget her last name, but she was one of the main people, and Jan Hackney, and lots of Amanda Hill Atkinson. we were all in our backyard doing that. It's huge though. It's 8 feet around, and getting it in the ArtsXChange was no easy feat.
Well, you know, when we move it, we actually roll it.
Oh, that's the odd. But to get it in the door, we had to take the center
Wow.
out of that back door.
Well, you know, when this thing is over, you got to get back over here and take a picture in front of it.
Okay.
We got to take a picture in front of you and I.
Right. And get Alice in there too, and Teresa.
Oh yeah,
Alice
that'll
and
be the Coupe d'Ivoire.
But one other thing I thought about.
She's probably not coming back in this building for a year.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, we're
But
doing.
hey, but we gonna see what happens.
I'll bring masks for everybody and that. But you know, another thing I think is that I feel this right now with my kids, because it's so tough for grandchildren right now and not being able to hug them as grandparents.
Yeah.
And mine are 6 and 9, and they live here, boy and girl. And Evie, the 9-year-old, when she was born and I was still working like 24/7 for Juan, that's when I decided, Helen Caldecott, who founded Juan in the 80s, said, you know, children ask the world of us. And I was driving to Grand Park one day and I thought, I don't have time to see my new grandbaby. What's wrong with this picture? You know,
wow.
that was the day I said, you know, I really need to step aside. And if Juan is going to be relevant, it needs to move on. New leadership, youth, new perspectives. And but what I was thinking of is, you said, what gave you the impetus? I've always loved to play as a kid. And I think my friends who know me, I think we need to play and have fun in our activism as much as possible, like fighting what's now the John Lewis Freedom Parkway, which was either the Expressway or the Jimmy Carter, whatever we did, which was just literally hundreds of people getting involved in that. And I just came in on the kind of the tail end from 82 to 86 or 7. But I was able to bring theater, because that's what I did, to it, and some design elements like yellow hard hats and caution tape and Bob's barricades and, you know, just some protest things that were fun, still respectful, but very powerful. That's the fine line to always try to discover, it seems to me, in our activism, is how do we show up, let people know how deeply we feel something, and yet be respectful of each other. And I think a lot of the protesters right now are doing a great job of that, and wearing their masks and everything. It's just unfortunate that the, you know, other things that are out of the norm, which may be necessary too. I'm not against, you know. I've gone to jail during Vietnam and Iraq War, but
well, you know, change has never been pretty.
No, right. It's uncomfortable. And that's why I'm glad you said that. I always thought with Wand, there were so many wonderful women, most of whom have moved on now, but who started Wand, but it tended to be very educated, lovely, passionate white women. And I said, what's wrong with this picture? When I was a member and on the board, because we didn't really have a staff for a long time. And we're in Atlanta, for God's sakes, you know.
That's right.
And so I wasn't that intentional. I just found myself moving downtown and to the People's Agenda and going to Concerned Black Clergy and, you know, just, you know, filling my veins and absorbing. And it wasn't always easy. That's why I say sometimes you have to risk a little emotional pain. I remember the first agenda meeting I went to, and Dr. Lowry, at the end, we were, you know, saying, I am somebody and you are somebody and all this. And we're holding hands, going around singing, ain't nobody going to turn us around. And Dr. Lowry looked at me like, who the heck are you, lady? But, you know, years later, he saw how fervent we believed in voting rights and everything, and being with Mrs. Lowry and going on her fabulous civil rights tour through Alabama.
You're talking about the one to Selma, her annual Selma trip?
Yeah, Mrs. Lowry was on our advisory board with Walt, and she was a lovely, lovely woman. Cherished her. And, you know, I've been, I don't know, maybe from Philadelphia to Atlanta with a little veer off in St. Pete, which is actually where Kenny Leon was for a long time too.
Okay.
Is a natural thing, but I feel very lucky to have landed here for whatever reasons. I mean, mainly because my husband and I was in one city, he was in another. We had a baby, and I said, I'm not doing this alone. So I said, you come down here, and he said, no, you come up here. And so I came up here, and the rest is history.
Wow. You know, your husband's name sounds familiar.
Rod Paul? Yeah, he's
Yes.
been around a long time. He's old like me.
Wow. And he's a filmmaker?
Yeah, he's done a lot of corporate. He mostly does individual projects. He's doing something on the Colombian drug war now, and he's done a lot of work in Haiti. He also does, you know, where you go in and help people, like after the Haiti earthquake, things like that, because he can fly.
I know y'all have some interesting conversation.
Well, it's very different medium, you know. I mean, I don't mind sometimes getting up in front of hundreds of people if I know what I'm there for, but put a camera in my face and I'm nervous as a polecat, you know. And it's just maybe it's too close. I don't know. I just never really did that much film. I did street theater, worked with bread and puppet theater back in the, you know, during the Vietnam days, and just different on the ground. I really like doing that. Theater for young people that was never condescending, but just challenging. And in St. Petersburg, there was such a dearth of that. And starting the company, it was called something else then, but the fact that that company is still going on with all the wonderful people who did that, that's really great. Somebody called me the other day and said, are you the one that started this? And I said, yeah, but I feel like once you do something, you know, you just move on and let people, you know, take it and run with it. But my time with WAND was wonderful. The women, I love partnerships with other organizations, not just the Agenda and Concerned Black Clergy and Janice Mathis with Rainbow Push and, you know, others, but Planned Parenthood and Physicians for Social Responsibility and 9 to 5 and NAACP, and, you know, just making our message of nuclear nonproliferation relevant, which is hard, you know, when you're struggling to just bring in the bacon. And then, but the most important thing I think of WAND's message now, I mean, it started off as totally anti-nuclear, but then supposedly the Cold War was over with George Bush Sr. in '92 with Russia. But hey, here we are again. Hello, we're back with the bombs. And but what WAND really does is look at how our money is spent in Congress. And when I left WAND, 53 cents out of every dollar in your pocket went, discretionary spending went to the Pentagon. And now it's up to 60 cents. So that means that education, the environment, healthcare, I mean, there is some, you know, the whole budget, but a third of our national budget is discretionary spending, and 60 cents of every dollar goes to the Pentagon. And so is it any wonder we have, you know, military brought into the streets and we're at war all the time? I mean, if you think of what you spend your money on, you know, which is probably not attack dogs and guns and missiles, you may have an alarm system, you know, you may have a fence or something else, but it's insane. It's insane. And until we can get at that, we do have enough money. Every time I made a mask and heard about what a shortage there was of masks, it made me mad. I mean, I was happy to do it for the nurses, for the caretaker in me, but it made me so mad to think that one half of one B-2 bomber wing would pay for all the protective gear for our country, you know, for 10 years. You know, it's just, it's our priorities. And that's, as a country, just like racial equality. I mean, my husband and I have that conversation all the time of coming around and understanding just how racist we are as a society. It's a big lesson. And I think COVID has allowed us, as I said, a little more time to reflect, although it's been painful in the isolation. I know I get depressed, and I know for a lot of my friends, especially those who live alone, it's hard. It's hard.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Anyway. Sorry,
Bobbie,
it
no,
got a
that's
little-
real. I mean, I appreciate it. That's what we're here for. We need to hear those thoughts and those, because it's a lot of us understand and can relate to that and share the same concern.
But the
I would
kids
like that.
are coming
ahead.
together. I mean, we always used to be working in our own silos, as they'd say, but I kept saying, but we're all fighting for the same, Dr. King's beloved community. And yes, you
ma'am.
may have a little bit of a different mission statement, and you may have a little bit, but it's really all about that positivity. And if we can, and a lot of it is how people were funded in their organizations. If they were funded to do this, they did that because they had to write their grants, they had to write their reports, they had to, check off all the boxes. And we had to do that with Juan to a certain extent, but what we never got grants for was our outreach and just plumb partnership. That doesn't mean that we take on everybody's mission, but we support it. And then we grow in numbers, because if you put all of us opposite the Pentagon or the military industrial complex, we ain't gonna make it. And only in together. And so I'm hopeful now. I feel a resurgence. I feel something that I haven't felt since the 60s.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, because you've been around, and you've been around the block a few times, and I know you've seen a lot. To hear you say that you're hopeful, that means a lot to me, because I know you've gone through some things. And Bobbie, tell me this. That was one serious endeavor you engaged in with the New Start and your involvement with the nuclear.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, where are you with that today? I mean, your work and the time and energy you put into it, are you at peace with where we are with that today?
Am I satisfied? No, but let me think. I just got something. I'm on a list for the Alliance for Nuclear Accountability, and I still get a lot, and I pass along things like to the Grannies for Peace and say, would you like to sign on to this? And, bring a Nuclear Watch South and other groups that are working around here. Because when you have, as you say, invested that much time, in getting to know it, it's not brain surgery, but it is the Department of Energy, where the nukes are. They love to make you feel stupid about things, and you don't have to be a brain surgeon to understand. It's bombs. It's wrong. You ask Sam Nunn. The more we have, the more it can go off, like guns. And we need to Russia reduce until hopefully one day we'll abolish them. It won't probably happen in my lifetime, but I mean, I've been worried since Donald Trump was elected that he had the nuclear codes, and everybody in Washington that I know said, oh, don't worry, Bobbie, somebody's, making sure of that. But, we've heard a lot of things about don't worry about Donald Trump. And anyway, that's all I'll say about that person's name. But I did get an email, was it just today or yesterday, from Tom Clements, whose mother was a major founder of Atlanta One, now Georgia One. I was the one who said, we need to be a 501c3 so we can, because we've got a lot to do and we need more money and we need people to do jobs. But anyway, he's a watchdog over in South Carolina, living in Columbia. And he has just exposed massive corruption in South Carolina. They were going to build 2 new nuclear reactors, like Vogtle reactors here in Georgia up there, and they closed them, and they have revealed massive, millions and millions of dollars of corruption, maybe $1 billion, I don't know, with some of this energy company up there. And I don't have the details, so don't ask me too much, but it's a real win for the anti-nuclear community, which there are several people all over the United States, in Idaho, Hanford in Washington, Los Alamos in New Mexico, Sandia Labs, Lawrence Livermore, Oak Ridge, Tennessee, up there, Savannah Riverside with Tom, Paducah, Kentucky, and Ohio. We have to watchdog these things because these are Superfund sites that have the most toxic stuff. We have waste in 51 tanks sitting over at Savannah Riverside, which is just across from Augusta, Waynesboro, 26 miles. I mean, Savannah Riverside is like Frankenstein's brain. It's 310 square miles. And although it has provided jobs over the years, it's probably killed as many people, exposures. And especially Black people who used to work there. They weren't even allowed to shower before they went home from the nuclear contamination. This was something that was always frustrating to me because we were always had an organization to run and do this, and yet the stories, you know, that people wanted to tell you. I mean, can you meet me at McDonald's, Bobbie, at 10 of 11? I can come, and then watching your shoulder, because Big Daddy's watching you, and dying from this contamination. Or they needed the money so much they'd take off their badges that would show contamination, so they wouldn't have to leave work, so they would get more money. But these were stories. There's one story of a principal in Greenwood, South Carolina, and I really, Robert Lindsay, that I'd really love to make into a film. He was a principal of an all-Black high school, and in the 50s, he was lured away by Savannah Riverside job, and I don't know how much he made as a principal. What do you think, $3,000 or $4,000 a year in the 50s? I don't know, but high-paying job, this and that, and he was in a carpool that went from Greenwood to Savannah Riverside every day. All 4 of those people in his died within 10 years of working there. Stomach cancers, this, that, and the other. And I've gotten to know the family. And under Clinton, President Clinton, they did put some justice compensation in under the Equal Energy Employers Act. It's a long name, but so that if you had a relative who was sick or had died, you could apply for compensation. But then they didn't fund it, then they finally did. But it's really, you go over there, and this one man at the staff of Savannah Riverside turned to one of Mr. Lindsay's sons and said, well, I'd just like to shake your hand because I think your father helped us win the Cold War. And he just looked at him and said, my father didn't need to give his life, being contaminated by nuclear radiation. So, I mean, there's so much, and the communities downwind of Savannah Riverside are in Georgia, right across the river. You could throw a golf ball across the river from Waynesboro or Shell Bluff community to the Savannah Riverside. And you don't, Reverend Willie Tomlin used to work with us down there. And he said, Bobbie, I don't see a bug, a snake, or a bird, or anything that's alive down here. But we never really were focused on nuclear power, but once they wanted to build Vogtle, which is the first one being built in 30, 40 years, we had to get involved because of that contamination of that area, the saturation, and the environmental justice impacts. Not to mention the waste. Some of those tanks in the ground over there are as big around, imagine a professional basketball court put in a circle, a drum that big in the ground, and they're not stainless steel, they're carbon steel. And they've been there for decades, and they're rotting. And 2 of them are sitting in the water table. And this is the nasty sludge from making plutonium and tritium, the stuff for bombs. Tritium gives a bomb its spread when it explodes, and plutonium.
Wow.
Anyway, so I'm getting really eggy head here, but we got a lot of work to do to clean up that spot. So Tom Clements just had a win. So we celebrate. His sisters live right here in Inman Park, Judy and Kathy. And so it is a smaller community, but we turned a lot of people on. But I think the message of the injustice of how our money is spent, I mean, it's like being disgusted about the gun lobby and killing people, the death penalty. Why can't we focus on schools, the environment, justice, healthcare, all the things that build you up and make you feel better? And we've got an opportunity, I think, now to make some really creative jobs, I hope. I'm going to shut up for a minute. Why don't you talk?
We have a question about, can you talk about the climate change and white supremacy? We have a listener, a watcher asked that question. It flashed on the screen, but that's what I get from it. They want to know about, can you speak to climate change and white supremacy?
Well, the intersection of that is to me clear as day. And we did make some inroads, a few under President Obama, but here again, he had people, Rahm Emanuel in his initial candidate from up in Chicago, who was really tied in, I don't know, it was Duke Energy or another energy company. You know, a lot of it comes down to money. I'm very supportive right now, by the way, of Daniel Blackman, who's running for the Public Service Commission. And he is a Black man and he's wonderful. He ran before. But what we need to do in Georgia is insist that the legislature have our public service people come from the district and be voted on from the district they come from, not the whole state, because otherwise Georgia Power just has, you know, a hold on it, and they're not going to let anybody in on that because it's Southern Company and it's big bucks. So I think Southern Company may have rued the day that they pushed for Vogel so much now because the natural gas became so cheap, and they're seeing the growth of solar, which all the activists and the environmentalists have told them for decades. You know, this is a dying, a dinosaur monster. Don't do it. And look, I mean, it's just shameful how we're paying for this thing that I hope never opens up, actually, but still the amount of money that they're taxing on all of us, and for all their bungling errors, mismanagement, it's just shameful. And yes, they may do jobs, but you know, this is the problem. We can have better jobs for people. And instead of giving jobs, my husband and I were talking about the healthcare workers and the people in the restaurants and everybody, and the garbage workers and the people who can't pick up our trash now. I mean, it seems like people are slaves to our way of life. You know, we need to help and say, you know, stop. But anyway, communities of color have always suffered. I've worked a lot with Eco Action. I meant to mention that, Dr. Yomi Noibi, and we used to partner all the time about, you know, watershed management issues, WAWA, the different groups in Atlanta that are working on that. And a lot of times it's because they don't have the political clout, the voice, the money to influence people. But I think more and more, John was a great person, John Lewis, about speaking out on that. And we need more and more people to show up for each other, to, you know, to come together, to march for that. I mean, that's why we worked so much, and WAND has, in Shell Bluff community, which is predominantly Black, used to be a thriving community. Annie Laura Howard Stevens was the woman I met at a hearing, and we have become dear friends, but she opened up a whole world of this area with all the people getting cancer and dying and all the funerals they're going to constantly. And then people like Nataki Williams, who's worked on that in, I think, Gainesville, Georgia. And that community, when there's a plant, it doesn't have to be nuclear, you know, but the mercury in the Savannah River and all of the industry that dumps into the Savannah River. We've got to stop using our oceans and rivers to dump our plastic and thinking it's somebody else's problem, not ours. That's what right now is teaching us. It's the whole world. It's not just Georgia, the United States, North America. It's the whole damn world. And we've got to come together on this and realize that, as they say, Black, brown people, poor people, you know, they're on the front line so much, just like healthcare workers. You know, I have an urge to want to go help, and I think, no, you got to pick and choose, you know, what you do and what you can. But the intersection, I think it's well known. I mean, Lindsay and Becky did a lot on that. There are many more people in Georgia WAN now staffing it who are women of color. Diane Valentin, who is the board chair of both the National and Georgia WAN, is very active. She's very active in Tarboro, North Carolina, doing a cultural museum up there. I mean, a lot of the organizing is done online, but we have to not only, I think when I left, it was time for Georgia WAN to have more youth, more women of color working with white women, everyone together, you know, Latino, to talk about this. Because I don't know, was there a specific question about an area like in Georgia or climate change? The only thing I will say about nuclear and climate change, some people try to bring the nuclear, when they bring up climate change, the nuclear industry toddles in and wants to say, oh, we need nuclear because it's carbon free. Well, it's not totally carbon-free. It emits other things like tritium regularly, and it is massively expensive and has terrorism risks, environmental risks, end of the world risks. I mean, nuclear reactors were made to make tritium and plutonium and things to make bombs. They are essentially bomb factories. And, you know, fortunately, we haven't had too much. I mean, I'm from Pennsylvania, 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, you know, but God forbid that we would have an accident like that or another Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which we're coming up on the 75th anniversary, August 6th and 9th this year. So, but there are too many clean alternatives that are being developed to rely on nuclear. And look at how long we've been just trying to get Vogtle 3 and 4 built. I mean, it's, if you think it's about anything but money and these people really care about power, we didn't even need the power. We had an excess of power in Georgia. We were selling it off to Florida. So all this thing about need and all that, you know, think about all that beautiful open space with windmills, you know, close to the coast, or solar panels that provide jobs and income for these communities. These communities that suffer should be the first ones to benefit from new clean energy. Massive things, not just on the roof of your own house. Are we getting late?
No, ma'am, we're good. We have some more time left. You know,
did I answer that person's question?
Well, you did the best you could do. I mean, I was satisfied with the answer.
You can fact check me. Go to the Georgia One website or something. Oh, there goes the Sweets phone, but I'm not going to answer it. They're in Michigan.
Yeah, that's all right. I as you can see, I have some things going on too.
I'll take a drink of water.
Go do that. Bobbie, we're about to close out. We are about to close out though, and I would just like for you to expound on what kind of future would you like for your grandbabies to inherit? I mean, world you would like for them to inherit. And you know, and like again, I want to thank you for the contribution you have made, you know, in that regard, you know, because, you know, they say we can't do everything at once, but we can do something at once, you know, and we got to start where we are and do what we can with what we have. And so again, I just want to commend you. I didn't know you before this interview, but now I truly understand why they gave you that Ebon Dooley Arts and Social Justice Award. You know,
well, he was a great guy. I only knew him a little from WRFG because I'm a supporter of WRFG and I love it. And I've gone on several times with Heather and Loretta. And there was a woman who's not on anymore on Thursday nights. I can't remember her name. But anyway, it's a great asset in our community to have WRFG. And, you know, when my sister, I have a sister 6 years older than me. So I was growing up in the 50s and she was a teenager. So I remember, hang down your head, Tom Dooley. So when I met him, that's the first thing that came into my mind, the Kingston Trail. And I said something, I mean, not to take away from his. And I think Ebon was from a South African pilot or something. I forget his first name, but I think his real name was Leon, wasn't it? Or Leon?
I think you're right.
Yeah, but he was quite a card. I wish I had known him a little bit more before he died suddenly.
Yes, I too was blessed to know him. It was truly a blessing. Yeah. Nice, gentle, quiet spirit, but an
great
activist.
Smile.
Yes,
just like
doing and shaking.
Yeah, that C.T. Vivian smile too. I think, but again, partnerships, you know, working to support each other. I mean, so what do I want for my grandchildren? I'm going to get teary, so I have to take a breath. Of course, I want what I've always fought for, which is, I don't know, fairness. I want I want simple things like a sky that gets blue every once in a while, rain that falls, you know, clean water that they can drink, and a community where they feel that everybody matters, you know, that they can work together. And they're a strong family. I have a strong, very small family, but my daughter-in-law's family, the McDuffies, they're very strong, family oriented too. And my son is very lucky to have married Laura. And I think that the kids are having fun. And my son is doing the learning, the home learning. He's kind of a little Renaissance guy. And he's 38, and he's been taking this past year kindergarten and 3rd grade at home. And I was walking the Beltline today, and I just saw Black Lives Matter painted on the Beltline, because I haven't been on, being an old fogey and not supposed to go out, you know.
Right.
just like opposite Trump Tower and elsewhere, and I was so pleased. And I called them on the way back, and he said, yes, we're going to the skate park every day, Evie and Arthur and I, to either bike or rollerblade or I don't know, do something. But that's their latest activity. And that's, I think, being physically active and wanting to dance. I was noting on Carolyn's website, she had the Alvin Ailey people at home, you know, dancing and doing. I think keeping your body alive, no matter what size, shape, color you are, disability, but just trying to just feel the breath of life in you. Those are just wonderful. I took Evie to the Fox in early March, I think it was, to see Alvin Ailey when they were here before everything shut down. And she's tall and was a gymnast, although that's kind of come to an end. And she just loved it, especially Revelations and, you know, Rock My Soul in the Bosom of Abraham and all of that. So I hope for joy. I hope for joy in their learning and in their life. And that they go to bed at night liking themselves for what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. That is so beautiful. And you know, that's something that we echo for all of our babies and their future. And I like how you really kept it simple, but those simple things are so important. Like you talking about the simple thing, they can drink clean water. And those things, that stuff that's real. That's
when I
real.
think around the world with what we're going through, you know, we bemoan this and that. Think about the children with bombs falling all the time and living in seas of plastic garbage and, you know, drinking filthy water if they get water at all. I mean, it's that's where the arts, I think, back to the ArtsXChange, I think that when we, for all of our activism, we have to keep connecting with the arts, you know, and reminding us that we have a heartbeat, you know, and this thing is there for a reason, you know. It's a muscle and it's strong, but it emanates. And anyway.
Hey, Ms. Paul, thank you so much. I have a confession to make. I hope you don't laugh too hard at me. While we were interviewing, a friend stepped in here and they put an ice cream sandwich on my table. Ooh. And I was watching it melt, and I was trying to sneak a little bit. I looked up at the camera and it's all on my mouth. I hope you didn't see that.
No, I kept my glass. I can no, and it's like a nice smile.
And since then it melted and it's all in my cup.
Yeah,
I missed out on that one.
I just have water, no wine, nothing like that.
I missed out on the ice cream, but I didn't miss out on a special treat, and that was this interview. And I just want to thank you once again. I wish you and your family.
It's been an honor associated with the ArtsXChange. And Alice, I've known her for years. We've done a few things together, performed, you know, for her at 7 Stages and other. And Teresa's my favorite woman poet of all time. So
Great. Well, you know, when we get on the other side of this thing, you, Alice, and Teresa and I got to take a picture in front of that peace sign. Right. And maybe do a little. I can hang. A little Alvin Ailey. You know we can do that. We can do that. Hey, everybody. This is Kenneth Zakee. We closing out. We here at the ArtsXChange. This is the Ebon Dooley Arts and Justice. Y'all know what I'm saying. Award recipient and talk. We got Miss Bobbie Paul. Bridge builder. We got Miss Bobbie Paul. She getting her little warm-up move on for when she come back to the ArtsXChange when this thing over with. Take that picture in front of that peace sign. You know what I'm saying? This is how we do it, y'all. So let's put our hands together and thank Miss Bobbie Paul. And like we say in the pool, and like we say in the pool hall, rack them up, Paul. Because that's all. Peace and love, everybody. Thank you again, Miss Paul. Bless you.